In today's show, we examine the question of how noisy is a solar farm? There's a battle raging against commercial solar farms in Reno County. This is part of a bigger war that started on the national level and has now filtered down to my neck of the woods. Our Planning Commission has spent over a year working on regulations for solar farms. In this episode, I focus on the noise issue. In 2023, a local anti-solar advocate wrote the following to our Planning Commission.
I did hear in some of your meetings some comments that these solar fields do not make noise. If I can find it again, I do have a video of the noise they do make. It is terrible and constant as long as the inverters are converting the current.
Is this correct? Do they make a terrible noise? Is it possible to be well informed from watching a video? Solar panels are silent, but inverters and transformers do produce sound. Inverters convert the DC electricity from the solar panels to AC, and then transformers step up the voltage from the solar farm to send it to your home. At the Reno County Commission meeting on March 13, 2024, Commissioner Ron Hurst directed the noise limits be lowered to 40 dB at a non-participating primary residence, down from the 60 dB the Planning Commission had already recommended. So how loud is a solar farm really? I felt that some field work was in order and found a local solar farm to visit and acquire some first-hand data. Ark Valley Electric Cooperative owns a 1 megawatt solar farm in the unzoned Huntsville area of Reno County. This solar farm was installed in 2022, and as of November of 2023, Ark Valley stated that it had saved its members $100,000 so far. The Huntsville farm makes use of single-axis trackers that point the panels east and west to maximize energy harvest. Native vegetation is allowed to grow beneath the panels. There are multiple high-quality inverters located throughout the project. This solar farm is a little larger than 7 acres in size. I visited this installation on March 16, 2024. My primary goal was to measure the noise levels at various distances. I did not use any acoustical wind blockers on my camera, so you can hear what a human ear would hear out in the field. We are at the Ark Valley Huntsville solar farm, and I'm taking noise readings. So here we go. Okay, at the driveway, we are averaging 50 dB. So now we're going to go 100 feet, and then we're going to take an additional measurement, and then we're going to go 500 feet, and we'll take an additional measurement. We are now about 100 feet away from the inverters, and because they have the inverters at the very front of their solar farm. So now we're going to be quiet. Now the wind is pretty noisy, but we'll try here. We'll do this again. Ready? Well, it has gotten much noisier 100 feet away, and I think that has to do with the slight breeze that we have coming up. I think the winds were supposed to be around 8 to 10 miles per hour this time of day. So I tell you what, we're going to do 500 feet. I think I'm going to go in the opposite direction because we've got the actual transformers right behind us, and they do make a little bit of sound. So we have come to 500 feet approximately from the inverters at the Huntsville solar farm, and like I said, the winds are running about 7 to 10 miles per hour, and I'm going to be very quiet here in a second. We'll see what we can get. Okay, and I cannot hear the inverters at all. All I can hear is birds and a little bit of wind. So I don't know how much further we'd have to get up there to actually hear the inverters. I tell you what, come with me. We'll give it a try. I can hear the inverters now. Okay, this is about as far away as I can go with hearing the inverters. I'm trying to shield the microphone, but I just can't. It's just too much wind. So I guess that's it for today. So what are my takeaways from this visit? Number 1, solar farms can be quiet. This one did not make a terrible noise. While all efforts should be expended to make sure solar farms are as quiet as possible, I can't see how anyone could consider the Huntsville farm to be anything other than quiet. The Kansas wind, however, is loud. I had a hard time taking readings in an 8 to 10 mile per hour breeze. It was easier taking readings at the solar farm entrance as the panels were slowing the wind down a bit. Number 2. A 40 dB limit at the primary residence of a non-participating homeowner, who by the way would be 500 feet away from the solar farm using the proposed regulations, is problematic. How do you separate ambient noise at the residence from solar farm noise? It is very hard to measure such low levels, and enforcement would be murky and most likely triggered by individual homeowners making complaints. In addition to my 2 main takeaways, I have some other thoughts from my visit. Sound falls off rapidly at a distance. The inverse square law states that with every doubling of distance away from the sound source, in this case the inverters, the sound will be 4 times less intense. For example, I was measuring around 50 dB 30 feet away from the inverters. Double this distance to 60 feet, and the sound goes down 6 dB. Double that again to 120 feet, and it goes down an additional 6 dB for a total of 12 dB quieter. Thus, 50 dB at the inverters becomes 38 dB at 120 feet away. At 500 feet, it would be 26 dB. I don't think it's a good idea to put inverters at the edge of a solar farm. I favor using higher DC voltages and centralized inverters in the middle of the farm to reduce perceived noise. The quieter the farm can be at the access road, the better. I would also recommend that developers utilize the quietest inverters possible. Full disclosure, the inverters at this farm will get louder than what I measured with additional sun and load. Also, this was just a sampling of one. Some solar farms emit more noise and some less. Noise levels are not a function of farm size. They are a function of component design. A small residential solar installation can have cheap, noisy inverters, while a massive solar farm can utilize high-quality, quiet inverters. The most important issue in my mind are clear, reasonable, and enforceable solar farm noise regulations with teeth. Next, I think it would be much more practical to measure noise at the outside edge of the solar farm, then limit the maximum allowable noise at the boundary to a sensible level and use reasonable setbacks to ensure noise reduction for solar farm neighbors. This method would be far easier to measure and to enforce. It would take the burden of enforcement off of non-participating residents. Keep in mind, whatever point is used for measurement will have to account for the ambient noise of wind, birds, dogs, air conditioners, traffic, farm machinery, etc., etc. You may think it is quiet in the country in Kansas, but if you objectively measure it during the day, you might be surprised. Well, that's it for my analysis of solar farm noise. I need to visit the Huntsville farm at night and measure if the inverters make any sound, as everything I've learned about solar farms leads me to believe the inverters go silent at night when neighbors are sleeping. Thanks for watching.